This is why the ancient church wanted to suppress Gnosticism so much and basically labeled them heretics and went after all of their teaching. Gnostics inherently understood that this reality is a matrix that we are supposed to awaken to and basically transcend. Jesus revealed secret teachings to his disciples that he did not share with all of the masses because obviously this would create extreme distress and upheaval, and a lot of people just were not ready to hear this truth. He basically gave the keys and the answers to the Gnostics, and if you read like the Gospel of Thomas or the Gospel of Philip, you can start to see that there's a lot of language in there that is not biblical and that talks about very esoteric and spiritual things. I'm pretty much convinced that the church or the leaders or beings behind creating religion understood this concept and did not want us finding out. This is why they put people like Paul at the forefront, someone who never met Jesus, pretty much distorted his whole message and deified Jesus to making us unable to attain him, when Gnostics knew that that wasn't true, that Jesus actually came to show us how to awaken to the fact that this is all an illusion, that this is all a matrix, and how to transcend it. But they didn't want us knowing that, and so they put other people at the forefront, pushed their teachings, put them in the canon to basically disconnect us from this truth and this reality. Jesus had so much esoteric, mystical, metaphysical insight and wisdom that he was sharing to the people, and they did their very best to suppress and hide it. And they pretty much just realized that his movement was growing way too fast and too powerful, and so they got in front of it. They distorted everything. They made him a god that we could never attain or be like, and they basically made worship and, believing in his death and resurrection as the key to salvation, when that's absolutely not what the fuck he was teaching.
I think this young lady has a valid point. At first, I was like, no, not the Jesus. But then she did pretty much express that this is not a Jesus, son of God, Jesus, because the Gnostics do not believe Jesus, son of God, Jesus, but Jesus just as a great preacher, a teacher. But that's about it. And that we find it within ourselves by looking in, is how we explore and figure out how to return to the Pleroma. Now, some of you may be confused. Okay, Coach Renz, how is it that if the Piso-Flavian family created Jesus, if Paul was an agent of a Greek agent to create this religion, where would you get the Jesus character from? Well, from some of the earliest traditions, Josephus wrote about 4 different people named Yeshua who were claiming a new message, a new leadership for the Jews, a Messiah for the Jews. He claimed none of them to be God or the Son of God. Just like even in the Testimonium Flavianus, we know is an insert into his work, he never claimed any of them to be God, but people who were starting new religious movements based off of the Jewish religion. So since there was already 4 Jesuses that he mentioned, I'm sure that there were even more Jesuses, because Yeshua was a very popular name. It is completely feasible that at least one of those Yeshuas was a Gnostic, was a teacher of the ancient Kemetic, ancient Sumerian, Mesopotamian, Hermetic alchemy ways. And that teaching mixed in with Judaism is what became the lessons that later people like Lucian, who was up in Antioch area, Syria, Lebanon area, who was an influential towards Eusebius of Caesarea and Helena, Constantine's mother, that people like Arius in Egypt, who went against the Council of Nicaea, they were following that teaching. And the fact that there were more, many scholars believe there were more Gnostics in the early Christianity than they were Orthodox. And that this is also what influenced Marcion and Valentinus in their renditions of Christianity, which all of those were less formal, less give power to the church, power to the building, the government, and focus more on the individual person, raising their conscious level to heights where they become unified with the Pleroma through inward look and growth, through attaining a higher consciousness. So I'm not totally agreeing with this young lady, because these books were never in the Bible. They were just never added to the canon. So they weren't taken out. They were just never added to the canon. But it's possible that there was another itinerant preacher who taught these. And the church, of course, became fearful of that, because there is no power that the church has over the people if you follow a Gnostic idea. But what do you guys think? And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.